Mitch, can you hear me?
Let's see. Yes.
Good. Trying to find a spot where I can do the meeting. You still hear me okay here, Mitch?
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm very delayed.
No, that was me.
Brad, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Welcome tonight to our school board meeting. Thanks for all those coming in person and welcome on the line. We'll start with a roll call.
Elfin?
Here.
Pritchard?
Here.
Nystrom?
Here.
Teven?
Here.
Millhouse?
Here. Okay. First on the agenda is the recognition of visitors.
So we actually have some Doors Award recipients that we'd like to recognize this evening. We'll start with Amber, since I can see her in the room. And I believe Mr. Winter was going to speak to the nomination that came forward about Amber and just share a little bit about why she was nominated and why she's receiving this award.
Yes. Can you hear me okay, Julie? Okay. I'm
Yes.
doing the best I can to stay connected. I'm down here supporting the Doors in Winterset. I just wanted to recognize Amber. I know that all of us, all of our admin team appreciate the support that our school secretaries provide and all of the things that they do for us and how good they make us look on a daily basis. And I just wanted to recognize Amber because I'm so appreciative of the job that she does over at Franklin. She, takes care of not only me, but all of our staff. She looks out for the needs that we have. Is really just so kind and welcoming to our families and our parents when she talks to them on the phone or in a normal year when they come in. And one of the things that I really recognize is this year especially, it's been really important. There's just been a lot of different things that have needed to be taken care of. And I always really appreciate it when I say, hey, Amber, would you mind doing this? And she says, it's already done. And I'm like, yes, this is great. So I just wanted to recognize her for the job that she does and for making me look good in my job. I sure appreciate her.
Thank you, Brad. And Amber, I know you didn't get to hear everything that was just said about you, but it was lovely. So it was about essentially you being able to go above and beyond, and we certainly could not do the day-to-day work without you. And that, Mr. Winter said, anytime he goes to tell you something, it's already done. So we wanted to have an opportunity for the board to recognize you. Normally they'd shake your hand, but we won't be doing that. And I want to present the certificate at Franklin. So you'll receive that at Franklin in front of the students, because I think that's important for them to be able to see you recognized for the work that you do. So I'll let the board go ahead and share their thoughts.
I just say congratulations, Amber.
Yes, same here for me. It just goes to show that any year it's a major team effort, especially this year. So having I know when I deal with the secretaries, since I have kids in school, and the first point of contact is a huge deal for our reputation and how people see us. So having quality people like you in that role is really a huge thing to us.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in and just say, having worked with Amber and Friday Food Friends and RSVP, she has been so helpful in making accommodations. And again, very deserving of this. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber. Obviously, I have kids in Franklin, but I haven't had experience working with you yet, but I appreciate your support and what you do for us at the school system. So thank you.
Wish I could be there to shake your hand and give you a hug.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Amber, for all you've done for our school, both Franklin and for the district in general. Thank you very much. Good luck.
And then in the effort of teamwork, when we talk about that, we do have another Doors Award winner, Lisa Cornelius, and I'm going to let Scott speak to Lisa's nomination and recognition as well.
Absolutely. And I think this just kind of goes to show you when we talk about it takes a team effort. Mrs. Cornelius is a longtime employee of the Boone School District. She's put a ton of years and a ton of hours in, and she is there every day doing whatever's asked, building relationships with kids. And, you know, I think as we talk about the team, Mrs. Newell has shared with our staff this year that one of the most important people for her daughters was the bus driver. And that her, you know, just the bus driver was the first person they see and who they look to for encouragement. And so that is what Mrs. Cornelius does throughout the day. And so she also, while she's an associate in the classroom, she is working with kids. She's working with the little kids when they come in and the associates. And she was actually recognized by Bailey Bruck and Dan Bruck for, she comes in and she's spending time with her and she's working on homework with her, and they're you know, being prepared and getting have a student that has anxiety about coming to school and being around certain things, and she's taking her under her wing and doing that with lots of kids. And if you're at our school during those transition times in the morning and after school, that we're not there just to stick them on the bus. We've got our associates and they're coloring with the little kiddos waiting to get on the bus and putting them into groups, and they're coming into the office to get things with us. So it is that process of making them feel comfortable. And I think that's good to see that transition. And I think when we talk about it, it takes a village. It just goes to show that everybody, no matter where you touch them, whether it's in the classroom, waiting to get on the bus, there's that relationship and there's always somebody that they know that cares. So I'd like to thank Lisa for all her years of working with us and being an amazing employee and always going above and beyond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. And I don't see if Lisa's online, but in case she is, I'll let the board go ahead and share their appreciation as well.
Okay, we'll start to Pat.
Okay.
Yeah, we value your work so much. We value everybody's work, especially in COVID times. And thank you so much for everything that you do.
Pam?
Yeah, I've known Lisa for quite some time, and she is one of the hardest workers, and she really, really cares for kids. She's a great person.
Okay, Matt and Jeremy.
Congratulations and thank you for your work that you do at the school district. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, again, like everybody said, thank you very much. Boone is what it is because of quality people that we have, you among them. So thank you very much.
Okay, and like, thank you very much for all you do, Lisa, and for all you've done for the district over the many years you worked here. As I said, normally the board shakes hands with each nominee, or I know one former board member used to hug them all. But we can't do that with COVID times. So thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. And that is consideration of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, Julie?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. That's printed.
I would motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion by Mr. Eflon and seconded by Mr. Pritchard to approve the agenda as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next is hearing from delegations. Is there anyone who would like to speak tonight from delegations? I don't see anyone here on the board. I don't see any comments, so we're going to move on to the routine business. And is there a motion on the routine business?
Move to accept the routine business as presented.
Second.
Okay. Okay, discussion? I believe that there's a bill that I would like to pull out. Boone County Family Medicine for $462.
It's my understanding that it no longer causes a problem. Mitch has sent us an email that is no longer an issue.
Is that going to be, that's not an issue any longer? Okay, just checking. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's, since our school attorney says we don't no longer have to worry about that, we will not pull that bill out.
Right, I did see that one, but didn't pull it out.
Okay. Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the agenda, or question, the consent agenda. All those in favor, so please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion approves unanimously. Next is the financial audit for the 2020 fiscal year 2020. And I see, I'll turn this over to Julie. I believe I also see our auditor on here.
I'm actually going to let Mitch go ahead and introduce our speaker tonight, and then she can go ahead and proceed.
We have Christy Wick here with Hogan Hansen, and the other gal, sorry, I forgot your name.
Her name is Shauna Bornholt.
Okay. We finished our audit, probably last month. The audit committee met last week to review the audit, and they were pleased with it. So now we just have Hogan Hansen here to present it to the full board.
Okay. And as you can see, Mitch has put up the audit report. He's sharing his screen there. And I'll just take you through a few highlights of it. I'm not going to go through every single page, but please feel free to ask me, interrupt me with any questions you have on anything I do cover. Or if there's something you see that I don't cover, please feel free just to, like I said, interrupt, or if you want to wait till the end, that's fine too. So first of all, I'll have you turn to page 2. And you'll see there, starting with page 2 and running through page 4, this is our independent auditor's report on your June 30, 2020 financial statements. And if you'll flip to page 3, you can see there's that heading there, opinions, and this is our opinion on your financials, and I'll read it. I'll just read it out loud to you right now. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Boone Community School District as of June 30th, 2020, and the respective changes in financial position and cash flows where applicable for the year then ended, in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So that is a very good opinion, and in fact, that's the best possible opinion that we can offer. Next, I'll have you turn to page 5. And what pages 5 through 15 it's what's referred to as management's discussion and analysis. And a few of you may have heard me talk about this before, but if there is any portion of this audit report that I would recommend you to read as school board members, it would be these 11 pages. The reason I recommend it is because it's very comprehensive, yet it's much shorter than the rest of the audit report. And it's also very much plain English and not a lot of technical terms like you'll find in the rest of the audit report. So I would recommend reading it. It gives you a good high-level summary of the year, of the activity, and also some analysis for some of the changes from the prior year to the current year. Next, I'll have you turn to page 19. And I'm going to have you look, you don't have to flip back and forth, but I'm going to talk a little bit about pages 19 and page 21. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the general fund. One way that you can look at the general fund to somehow gauge the health of it, to see if it's healthy and sitting well, is looking at how your fund balance in that fund looks in relation to the expenditures for any given year. And so I took a look at that just to see where you guys were sitting. And based on these numbers as of June 30th, 2020, it would come out to where you'd have about 78 days of expenditures sitting in your fund balance. So if if worst came to worst, you could operate for 78 days based on what you have in your fund balance. And that's actually very healthy. The minimum we would like to see is 30 days. 60 is very healthy. And actually last year, when I presented this audit, I told you that it was 70 days at that point. So I think that's very good, especially considering, where we've come in the past year through the pandemic and everything going on there. So I just thought I'd talk a little bit about that. Next, I'll have you turn to page 65, so way towards the back. All right, and what this page is, I wanted to point it out because it's more of just kind of an informational thing, but there's a snapshot here of 10 years worth of information on one page. And I think you could find that valuable or at least interesting, whether you've been a school board member for a short period of time or a long period of time. It's just some good and possibly interesting information for you if you want to see how your state revenue has trended over the years, or maybe your instructional expenditures. So just wanted to point this page out as well. And then lastly, I'll have you turn to page 73. And what this is, these last few pages are the schedule of findings, and this is where we list out any internal control findings or compliance findings that we have. I'll just go through them briefly. The first one listed here is a segregation of duties finding. This is not unusual. Really what that has to do with is all of the accounting duties of the district being concentrated among just a few staff people handling them. It's not an abnormal finding. We see it quite often, but we're required to put it in there if it seems appropriate. So that's what that's in relation to. The next one, again, kind of falls into that same category of it's very common, especially with the school districts we work with, the financial statement preparation. And this is just due to the fact that we're preparing the financial statements. We have very few audit clients that we see that actually prepare their own. So that's what this finding is in relation to. And then at the bottom of the page there, that's just another reference to the segregation of duties. It's just we have to put it there in relation to the federal awards audit that we do. On the next page, page 75, this is where we put the compliance type findings. You can see the first one there has to do with the certified budget. And what the finding was that the expenditures exceeded the budget prior to the amendment in the other expenditures function. Once the budget was amended, those expenditures did not. But even when it exceeds it before the amendment, we're required to put this finding in there. So that's what this is about. The next one you can see about halfway down the page. This has to do with related party transactions. And again, this isn't anything, to worry about, but it's something that we do have to include whenever a board member or a board member owned business does business with the school district. And so we just disclose the nature of the transactions and the amount of the transactions. And so that's what this is in relation to. The next page, the second one down there, supplementary weighting. The finding there, the district over certified one enrollment class by 31 thousandths of a unit. Again, not significant, but this is something that the state auditor requires us to put in as a finding, even if there is a very small discrepancy. And then the very last findings on the last page of the report. This one has to do with student meal accounts. And the finding here just has to do with individual student meal account balances exceeding the allowed negative balance. From what I understand, Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong, there's been a new policy written for that in order to further address this issue.
Yes, and we are currently working on the current balances.
Okay. And with that, I just want to take a minute to thank you guys for continuing to work with us. Thank you, Mitch, especially for accommodating us this year in our first year of fully remote auditing, or pretty much remote auditing. So thanks again. And are there any questions?
I would just say first is I've been on the board for 8 years. This is the cleanest audit we've had in those 8 years. The one as far as delegation responsibilities, we've seen that every year. And my guess is 90% of the school districts in the state of Iowa see that. One. In the food service, as far as our accounts receivable there, that's been a problem discussion for many years at this board table. We tried to approach it probably about 3 years ago, and became a hot topic for a couple months. It was even got to the Des Moines paper. I don't think we did, but some other districts at that time did, as far as trying to make the collections as fair as possible. So it's a issue that has been to the board table in the past, and current board members, I'll entertain questions as far as what I can remember of that. discussion. If I can't answer the questions, we'll have to check back in some of the records. Any questions from board members?
Yes, I would just say as a member of the audit committee and reviewing this in detail, I agree. It was a very, very nice, clean audit and everything looked good to me.
The audit committee,
Certified to teach accounting.
the audit committee was established probably 10, 12 years ago by the Boone School Board. It's made up of CPAs and bank officials in the community, and we ask them to go through every year, review the audit, and catch details that school board members who are not CPAs and bankers might not catch. And this year it's Lisa Copernis, Eric Siemens, Abby Howie, I'm blanking, Lisa Hochmeyer are the ones that did this, and Eric and Lisa Copernis are the two senior people on that committee, and they both commented this was one of the best ones that they had seen too, and they had no concerns, so, and they recommend that the board accept this audit. Any other questions, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Nystrom, seconded by Mr. Pritchard to approve the audit for the fiscal year 2020 as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Christy, thank you very much for signing on tonight and giving us this presentation. A whole lot nicer for you to do this than having to drive back to Mason City.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy and Charlie.
Okay, moving on. Next is a presentation from Lang Construction. And I'm going to turn this over to Julie to introduce.
Okay, so if you recall, several months ago, we heard from Story Construction, and now you'll hear from Lang Construction. I saw Steve was on, and he has the entire team with him. So I'm going to let Steve introduce himself as well as the team, and then proceed with the presentation. I believe, Steve, that you should be able to share your screen when the time comes.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Millhouse and board members and Superintendent Treppa, we appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight, albeit remotely, to have a discussion about construction management and our approach to that, and some schedule and pricing presentations here. So with that quick introduction, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and see if we can get that piece up on the screen. Oh, that's good. That's where I want to be. Okay. First of all, again, thank you for having us here this evening to talk about construction management services. I've got the rest of our team around the table here, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in just a minute, but we'll get started. A little outline about what we're going to talk about. We'll do a little company overview. We'll talk about the project team, talk about construction management as an agent, our process, schedule and some costs, why us, and then we'll entertain any questions that you guys may have as we finish up here. Lang Construction Group, we were established in 2011. With just 3 of us started the organization then. We bring over 100 years combined experience in the Central Iowa marketplace. A lot of that in the educational sector, a lot of K-12 work, some university work, and some private work also. So we have a selection of in-house services. We do scheduling, estimating, document review, construction management, closeout. We're a full service general contractor construction manager. And really our approach at Lang Construction Group is to focus on what's best for the project. We all have a lot of experience, and there's a lot of competing interests a lot of times, but we put that to the side and say, what's the best thing for the project, and we move on with that in mind. Like I mentioned, we have extensive experience in the K-12 market. One of the things that drive us more than anything are our core values. And we've got those listed here, and that kind of defines who we are and how we take care of business every day. We care about our team. Our team that we've got around the table here is obviously very important to us, but also when we team with somebody else, those members of our team are foremost in our mind as well. So we care about who we're working with. We exhibit professionalism. We're honest. We've got integrity. We'll tell you what's going on. Sometimes whether you want to hear it or whether you don't, but we'll do it in a professional manner. We're here to serve our customers. We listen to what our customers have to say and what they need as they go through a project. We're organized and we're productive, and we're here to serve you. We exhibit excellence in our craft. It's a nice way of saying we think we're pretty good at what we do. But it goes all the way from our estimators to our craftsmen in the field, and you guys won't really see a whole lot of that because we're not going to actually perform any work if we work for you as a CM. But we do that with professionalism at all the time, at all times, and we are humbly confident. Our team has been doing this for a long time. We've seen a lot of things. We're disciplined to continue to do it the right way, and we feel we're pretty good at it. So those are the things that drive us and drive all the projects that we're involved in. A little bit more about us, relevant experience. We think that we're a little bit unique as a construction manager, especially in the K-12 marketplace. We've acted as construction manager, as agent, as Lang Construction Group for South Hamilton and for a five building elementary school program over at Ames at their elementaries. And then we also, a couple of us here at the table have experience with Des Moines Public Schools as a construction manager. I served as the program director there for the $350 million program that they did back from 2000 to 2010. That gave us a lot of experience. On the flip side of that, we're also a general contractor and have acted as a general contractor for Des Moines Schools, Southeast Polk, Ankeny, Bondurant, Knoxville, Pella, and some more that you can see listed there. And that gives us kind of a unique position as understanding what it takes to be a construction manager and also the challenges of working as a contractor in school projects. So we kind of have it from both sides of the equation. And we bring that to you guys as your agent and your owner, looking out for you, your best interests at all times. Again, I guess if we're going along here, we'll continue to go, but if anybody's got any questions, we'll be able to handle those at the end. Our team, again, we got our team sitting here. So I'm Steve Lang, founded as the originator and president of the company. We started just about 10 years ago now. And the buck stops here. If anything, if you've got any questions or any issues along the way, I'm the guy you call. Gary Howdeshell will be our project director, and I'll let him introduce himself and then the rest of the team here.
Yeah, good evening. As Steve said, I'm Gary Howdeshell. My role would be project director. On a day-to-day, week-to-week business, or day-to-day, week-to-week schedule, making sure that the team and the project is running smoothly. As far as my experience, I've got over 30 years of experience in the construction industry. I guess probably about 20 of it as working in the either in the K-12 and or institutional level as the owner's rep, construction manager, and general contractor. I'm excited to be here tonight.
Grant Mass, I'll be the project manager. 15 years of experience. I graduated from the University of Iowa. I'll be an extension of the field team.
I'm Mike Fields. I'll be the construction manager on the project. I grew up in Peyton, Iowa. I went to Iowa State University in their industrial education technology program. I fell into the construction trade. I went ahead and pursued a journeyman plumber's license. So I've spent most of my career pretty much in the mechanical side of things. However, I also then was able to go to work for Iowa State University in their construction services department. And I've got 28 years experience, about half of that in mechanical trade. The other half is managing projects for Iowa State University as an owner's representative.
I'm Nolan Preer. I'll be the project engineer. I graduated from UNI with construction management. During that, I worked as a carpenter in the commercial construction industry all through college, and then worked with Lang for a little over 2 years now as a project engineer, helping manage projects. I'll be basically supporting the project manager and Superintendent Mike on site.
All right. Thanks. Gary, you want to go ahead with the next slide here?
All right. As Julie said, I think it's been almost a couple of months ago now we met with you and talked a little bit about what some of the advantages of a CMA process are. First and foremost, as it says there, it's qualifications-based selection. What does that mean to you? Really, you get to choose based upon qualifications who you get to work with and who you want to work with, as opposed to it happening on bid day, and sometimes that works out okay, and sometimes it's not such a good marriage, so to speak. The CMA portion of it, we're acting as an agent, your agent. Everything we do is in your best interest, working really to deliver a headache-free project. It really puts construction experience on your team. All of you guys have day jobs. I think maybe one of you there has, I know Jeremy has construction experience, obviously. By putting that experience on your team, knowing what's going on in the industry, some of the lingos, the processes, having that familiarity, just being there side by side with you is of value. Grant will talk a little bit about this in a moment here, but obviously bringing a construction manager on early, assisting that architect through that design phase for constructability issues, scheduling, sequencing, that kind of thing is also a big advantage. The trade contracts, they're publicly procured. So every package that's created, is bid there on bid day. And it eliminates the possibility of any bid shopping, that kind of thing that can occur on a single prime project. And lastly, and in some cases, most importantly, it's a very open book, transparent process. Everything we do, from our records, our job schedules, our estimates, etc., is right there, open for everyone to see and review.
Thanks, Gary.
On the project management side of it, again, we're an extension of you. We're part of the team all together in this. We'll run the overall schedule, make sure things are done on time, tracking well. If we see issues, we can look at ways to mitigate them. Again, we do it all the time. Work with a lot of local contractors, so we know some of the things that can transpire on those sites. Design phase, we'll touch on that a little later. Throughout the whole design process with the architect, we'll be reviewing the drawings, looking at drawings, seeing if there are issues we see, whether it's in the field, how constructability, if it's a product that we've had issues with, long lead items, and items you guys have. Again, we're an extension of you. If you mention something you don't like or want to see, we keep that in our mind and try to direct accordingly. On bid day, we'll be there opening the bids, awarding, running all that. With that, we'll see all the monthly billings. We'll put those all together. We'll present them to you for approval. So it'll be a pretty seamless process. There won't be any extra time on your end reviewing or dealing with paperwork. The phase management, that'll be in the field. Plumber needs to get in, electrician needs to get in. Don't build this without this guy ready. All that stuff, we're out looking for that all the time. And then again, communications, if we have problems, issues, things we like, don't like, we're there to see those, report those, and quell the issues. Through the design phase, we'll meet with the,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
through the design phase, we'll be meeting with the design team, engineers, architects, again, pushing them along, holding them to time constraints that we need. You know, time is of the essence. We'll run estimates with each phase of design, so we can keep an eye on the budget. Where are we at? What do we need to do? Allow adequate time for the design review. You know, it's hard to shoot out drawings at 4 o'clock on Friday and then expect something to happen Monday at 8 a.m. So again, that's with the schedule and just kind of holding those guys to task. Value engineering, you know, that's where we can review those drawings. If we see something that there's a better option or it's more cost effective, again, we can have a voice on that. The bid packages Gary touched on, that's where the CMA helps. We can break out different packages. We'll coordinate those, make sure we don't have any scope lapse. It's a good way to get some value on your end because you're not paying additional markup through different layers of subs.
And to engage the local market.
Yep, and to keep the smaller guys there if we need them. And then lastly, just communication again, so.
Construction phase.
Throughout the construction phase, again, I'll be the on-site dedicated person. You'll get to know me very well if we are selected. Some of the duties that I'll perform while on-site, monitor safety parameters and any other concerns. We do a number of our projects are partnered with IOSHA, and so very familiar with running project safety parameters, site tours, anything like that may or may not come up during the project. Document control, be fully engaged with any of the RFIs. There'll always be RFIs that come up, ASIs issued from the architect, design team, working with any of the CRs that are there, pay apps. And this project also will then be used as a web-based management system, and we'll monitor and run that process for you. We own the schedule, meaning we're going to drive that schedule. Schedule on this project is of utmost importance. We understand the parameters that are around that. We know that there'll be concerns. I don't want to use the word slips or delays, but we know that there will be issues. This last year has been, as everybody says, unprecedented. And we know that there'll have to be a lot of reaction with whatever issues that come up. We are, as mentioned earlier, we're open. We keep all the cards on top of the table. We go for the formal decisions, and we're not afraid to make on-spot, on-site decisions to move the project forward. Again, schedule is a big deal, and we understand that. Quality control and assurance, we're there every day, all day long, monitoring the site, work ethics, just making sure that everybody's heart is in it, and we want the best high-quality project that we can produce. We're also there through the closeout portion and warranty to carry out any of the warranty items that go through on that as well. And communication, again, we're a pretty tight team here around the table. Look forward to meeting everybody and working very closely with all the individuals that are present. And communication is one of our strong suits. The schedule, and right now, clearly we want to get a site package out this fall. Looking for a late fall bidding session. We anticipate this is going to be roughly, we're looking at about a 16-month project, and have full understanding the 2023 fall session is the target. Steve,
Yep.
if you got any comments?
Yep. No, that's, I think, the one thing that I think we've talked to Julie about this a little bit is we know your bond issue is coming up here on the second day of March. And then hopefully when that passes, you guys need to get to work because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done so we can get in the ground this fall. That's very, very important for this project to move forward. We understand that, and we're ready to help you manage that. I'll move ahead to the slide on our budget here. As we put this together, like Mike said, we feel this is about a 16-month build. We feel there's about 10 months of design ahead of that. So I've run some numbers here with a couple of scenarios, not knowing exactly what your construction cost will be, but we've read some numbers at 18 million and 19 million, and they come down and they're within about $20,000 of each other. And really that difference is just what our fee markup is on the actual construction cost. And our fee will be 1.95% of that. Our reimbursables are the other $724,000 roughly. And that's a number that we are willing to guarantee. The thing that will be a little bit flexible is what the actual final construction cost becomes. And we'll determine that at the beginning when we get all the numbers in, and we'll fix that number as well. So it will be a guaranteed price for you guys from our side of the equation. So conclusion, why should you select us to be your construction manager? Our core values drive us in everything we do every day. Project focus, we've got a team here that will be focused on your project from the time we start until the time that you guys go to school there, and assist you even beyond that if there's any issues. Our team's got experience. There's a ton of experience sitting around this table, especially in the K-12 market in Central Iowa. Our goal here is to bring certainty to your process and your project here. We want to make sure you understand where everything is going, so there are no surprises. And this project is important to us. We do quite a bit of work in Central Iowa, but we're a little bit selective about who we work with. We like to work with people that like to work with us, and this project is important to us. And we want to be your construction partner moving forward. So with that, we'll entertain any questions that anybody may have. Maybe I can stop sharing this.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve, for that presentation and your crew. I'm gonna ask board members if you have any questions, concerns, comments first. Matt?
I do not. Some of this is above my wheelhouse on some of these things, so I do not tonight.
Okay. Our construction expert, Jeremy, comments, concerns?
Couple of questions. I think not necessarily it's not needed for success, but something that I think is really very important is for us to get that fall package out with the site utility prep. I'm wondering if you have any concerns there with our timeline, because I correct me if I'm wrong, but if we get that done early, I think we'd be, and we can go to bid early for the big project. It would put us at an advantage over other districts being there early and maybe get a little better price. And second, the design phase is going to be critical for us. And I'm wondering what the district's role or what our involvement will be during that phase, because that's one of the areas that we see as one of the reasons why we're interested in hiring a construction manager is partnering during the design phase. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about your process there and what the district's role would be during that phase.
Well, I'll jump in. This is Gary. With regard to that site package, couldn't agree more with you, Jeremy. And do we have some concern about it? We mentioned that back in December, and I even took the liberty here a week or two ago of laying out just a rough schedule of what that design schedule might look like for a site package. And it's literally, depending on how much time, and of course it will need input from the architect, DLR, but there's 2 or 3 weeks for schematic design. There's a few weeks for design development, and a month for construction documents. Now, granted, it's a site package, and you guys have got a pretty good head start on what that site looks like and what that footprint looks like. But yeah, it comes pretty fast in order to try to hit your scheduled board meetings and get approval and do some drawing review. That also and get it out and get it bid, say in an mid-August timeframe, so that so many times what happens is if it hits the street in October, as you all know, it can turn nasty, and you're out there in November trying to build a building pad and fight frost or get utilities in the ground, and it just could be problematic. And I'll just dovetail in with regard to the whole design process, maybe, and Grant can jump in as well, what your involvement may be. I mean, it's important, obviously, to get the project that you want. And Grant alluded to it. I can't stress it enough, to lay out that design schedule, allowing enough time for not just the construction manager, but all the team players to review those documents and to understand what's being built, you know. And obviously we play not just the architect, but we can help you understand what's on those drawings, and so that it's easier to understand, you know, and make sure that you're getting what you want. And having that time along those design phases, schematic design, you know, design development, and lastly construction documents, to review those documents thoroughly. Take a week, 2 weeks to do that process. It's important.
I'll dovetail on that a little bit. You know, I don't know if you guys, how you'll run it. The event varies with school. If you'll have a facilities committee, a facilities director, appoint one buddy, we meet with everybody, you know, but generally speaking, it's like, okay, we're 20%, 50% design documents. Back in the day, we used to get in the room with everybody, kind of go through them page by page. Here's what we got going on. Here's what we see. Any concerns? Do you see anything? Just literally walk through every page of the documents so we can provide good feedback to the architects, because that being concise with them allows that turnaround to be a lot more rapid. And then ultimately you get what you want at the end, with, you know, very few surprises.
If it's something that you desire, you know, value engineering was talked about. We went through it fairly quickly, but that's a good opportunity for your stakeholders. And that can be a very formal process that's not always driven about cost, but to just to understand needs. And your stakeholders for every given department have that opportunity to do just what Grant said there. And we'll spend a few days going through that, not only from a dollar and cent perspective, but from a functionality perspective, to help you understand, are you getting the best bang for your buck? Is it what you wanted? Is that what you thought you were getting? That kind of thing. That's really that moment in time.
Long-term operational cost.
Yep, maintenance, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Nystrom, Mr. Teben, any questions?
The only question I had is, where did you say you were out of again?
Well, we're officed in Grimes, just kind of right on Ryder Corner there in the northwest corner of Des Moines.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to get a location.
Absolutely.
Okay. I will say that at the end of the day here, that is Mr. Pritchard, myself, and Mrs. Tripa, Superintendent Tripa, we interviewed 3 different contractors, construction managers. And at the end of the day, when we looked at prices and talked to local contractors and everything, the recommendation of the 3 of us is to proceed with a construction manager and be Lang Construction. This is something just as when we choose our school attorney, we don't have to necessarily get sealed bids and everything. We just have to do due diligence on it. And the Buildings Material Committee, which is Mr. Pritchard and myself, have spent considerable time on this in the last 4 months' time. And in order to get things moving with the bond and everything, that's our recommendation. Mr. Pritchard, any comments about that?
No, just that I feel like we did our due diligence and then some. We talked to some general contractors about their opinions of the process, talked to 3 construction managers, vetted it pretty thoroughly, checked references, and then also checked our own contacts of people that they didn't provide as references, because sometimes you get different opinions when you seek references that way. But overwhelmingly positive for Lang. They have some guys that are familiar with the area. they've done work similar to this type of project. So we have a lot of confidence that they'll do a good job. So I think that's why we feel very comfortable making the recommendation to proceed with Lang Construction as our construction manager.
Is that in the form of a motion?
I would move that we accept or that we proceed with Lang Construction as our construction manager.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I should say pending review of a contract, I suppose.
Sure.
Second.
Who said second there?
Pam.
Pat, okay. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to accept Lang Construction as our general as our construction manager or group, pending review of the legal contracts. Pam, you have a question here?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, hearing no other questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion for Lang Construction to be our construction managers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Lang and your crew, for joining us tonight, and we look forward to working with you for the next 2.5 years to get our new elementary center.
Thank you guys very much. We're honored to be working with you guys, and rest assured we'll do a great job, and we can't wait to get to work and hit the ground here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, Superintendent Dripa, the Woodward Granger Academy and Grandwood agreements. Summary.
So in summary, these are agreements that we do every year. Somehow we missed it in some of the previous outside entities that we've approved previously. So it just needs to be renewed for the next year. It's for the current year, actually.
Okay. Okay, is there any questions, concerns? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Nystrom. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Nystrom, seconded by Mr. Elfin, to approve the Woodward Granger Academy and Grandwood agreements as presented in the board documents. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is the Boone High School Credit Recovery Report. I think, as I recall last month at our meeting, this is somewhat still incomplete because of the way the timing of our calendar. And so Superintendent Dripa, Mr. Byam, I'll let you to give us a report.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Byam go ahead and start then.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I want to share my screen quick. Can you see? So we just wanted to share where we went with the Fs at the end of the semester. You'll notice that actually our 9th and 12th graders that were on site actually did considerably well in comparison to our online students. Last year at this time, we had 69 students that had Fs at that time. When we hit after first semester, you'll notice that we didn't hit that number this semester just with our in-person students. 11 students in 12th grade totaling 15 Fs, 15 students in the 11th grade, 10 in the 8th grade, and then 21 at the freshman level with 28 total Fs there. Obviously our biggest concern right now is the 35 students totaling of 86 Fs with the online learners. The one thing that I wanted to make sure that you understand is that MTSS process right there where that triangle is. This is something that we're constantly looking at when we're building interventions. And so right now we're right on pace where we would want to be at, except for our online students. But the things that we have planned, we added back into our schedule a win time so we can do interventions. And then we've also made a point of we're going to be pulling students in during our power hour this semester. If they had a standard or two that they were missing, we're calling that standard recovery. In the past, we've done that as a unit recovery. In the past, we would go from anywhere from 48% to 59%, and we would bring students in and have them make sure that they're covering the pieces that they've missed in order to get to a passing grade. So right now, what we have planned with our TLC and some of the other supports that we have in the building, we're planning on contacting, we're going to start with our seniors as their timing is a little bit more important as graduation's coming soon. And so we'll start with the senior students. We'll get them, get their parents called. And then at the end of the 8th period, we'll go grab them from a class and bring them into a classroom to start working on making up those credits. One of the things that we are trying to pride ourselves in is we're not going to allow our students to fail, and we're going to go in, we're going to find them and make sure that they're passing. And so whether it's credit recovery, or I'm sorry, if it's the standard recovery, they'll make up those few standards to get to the passing level. And then if they have to repeat the whole class, then we'll have them start repeating the class online. So our ultimate goal is to make sure that we're bringing in each one of our students, these students, and starting to make up those courses. Obviously, one of our biggest concerns is with the 9th graders, that one of the most evident pieces is you want to have a very good start of your freshman year to make sure that you're on pace. Those students that failed those classes are not on pace right now, and so we want to make sure that we start getting them back into pace, and then also build our 8.5 program again during the summer, so that our students that are coming in from 8th grade have the appropriate transition that they need to come to the high school.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. Are there questions from board members?
I have a question, I guess, in regards to the 79 students. Is that a pretty even split across the board for online from 9, 10, 11, 12? Or is there more in the 11th and 12th grade?
I believe it's a pretty even split.
And the other question I would have to follow up that is, what are we doing with that 44% of those onliners? So we talked to the students and to their families about trying to get them back into the building for the second semester, because obviously what they're doing right now is not working. I know we had this discussion. Mr. Kelly said he made a lot of phone calls, he and his staff did, to try to bring these kids back in. What's happening at the high school level?
Same thing, making sure that we're contacting people and requesting them to come back. I think one of the biggest things right now is we know some of that learning that has been happening online isn't for everybody. And we know that we have some students there that really struggled, and we're hopeful that them coming back. We also had a couple of kids that decided that they needed to go to Futures, and so they've already been through a lot of our programming throughout the high school, and we tried to build a lot of supports. They thought that maybe online would be beneficial for them, and it really wasn't. And so our next step also was the possibility of Futures. And so using Kim Kitterman to help support some of those students was extremely important also.
Okay. So those 44 students, ballpark, how many do you think are back in the building for the second semester?
That's a
or
great
over
question.
Futures?
Drake, how many do you think?
I think we were plus around 6 or 8 returning and going from the second semester. Out of those 44, I'm not sure if I'm guessing that out of those 44, 6 or 8 of them were probably in that category.
Okay, so we didn't have.
And then I think we had a few, probably around 2 or 3 transfer to futures.
Okay, so I'm at 44. We probably still got approximately 30 of them that are going to try it again for the second semester. And do we have any other supports built in for those for the second semester as far as trying to prevent them from getting behind, that type of thing?
We're going to try to really get the students that are on campus caught up, and then we're going to go into online also. We're going to also build into our summer school program that the makeup like we have in the past.
Okay.
One of the things I would add to that conversation is, as we've been reaching out to those, is like, and I know everybody's aware of this, but it's really just a pretty sensitive topic too, even if those kids are failing, because we know, in the lens of COVID, that while it may not be successful, there are, where there's people in that category that feel that what school's a safe place to not be or not safe place to be, and we never want to step or infringe on somebody saying, hey, we don't respect your opinion. I've had some pretty difficult conversations where I think sometimes can maybe come off as, I don't know, being insensitive or feeling a certain way. Or, I had a conversation this morning with a parent that, accused me of not caring. And so I'm like, I wouldn't keep reaching out if I didn't care, trying to get your kids back. And so while we understand there is a good portion that it's not being successful for, we are continuing those conversations to show that we do care and we want to get them back in the building. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to take that next step too. Sure. So I know we've all struggled with that, with those conversations with a lot of the parents. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from board members?
I just think something to add to would be, I think we had a lot of positives from online learning too. I know that number is pretty big, but we had about 30 kids who finished over 3.5 GPA in the online learning format. And I think that there's skills that you need as an online learner, and some of those younger students and some of the older students might not got those skills as they're not explicitly taught before COVID, besides last spring. So I think there's some positive to take away from that too.
Yeah, definitely some students learn well online. There's no doubt.
And that's some of the skills that we're working on, especially this semester, in trying to build those core skills for our students. And because you never know what's going to happen, and we just need to continue to teach and push forward.
Okay, thank you. And next, I think Mr. Prime, you still have the floor, because I believe the next topic is the high school handbook for this coming year.
Yes, sir. We didn't have a lot of drastic changes this year. One particular spot that we did have some changes is within our math department. With our continued progression with illustrative math, we've noticed a real push for our students in the Algebra 2 area. In meeting with our math department, they felt that a lot of the Algebra 2 class was starting to hit into pre-algebra or the pre-calculus. So you'll notice a smaller change where our pre-calculus, rather than a full semester, will be, a full year would be a semester long. And then we've added some other courses to help support students that math might not be their forte, but they might have some various interests, whether it's a construction math, a computer math. We wanted to be able to vary it a little bit and give some like financial literacy type pieces for our students when it came to math. In the English department, we made some slight modifications to names just to kind of create some more interest in our elective English classes, but the content's the same. So there wasn't really some drastic changes there. The content's the same, it's just some name variances there. And then in the science department, we want to continue to progress in getting students into chemistry. And so we're going to continue with our AP chemistry, our AP physics on an every other year. And so we're looking at some continued push in our chemistry classes. And so we're excited about those. Jill, anything else that I'm missing?
Those are the main ones. A few things, just some realignment of how we're offering work-based learning and the ways that we have expanded that with the addition of Mrs. Hyman. And so some of those classes we are now DMAC, are able to be offered for DMAC credit. And I think that just adds more opportunities for our kids to take part in that work-based learning too.
Okay. Questions from board members? Okay, I got a few things here. Mr. Byam, first on the Silver Cord comment, I think we can award. I think you can remove the statements about the class of 2019 and 2020 since they've both left the building. Second is with the GPAs, the 2020 comments can be removed because this is the 2021 class. And there was one other time where it said 2020 instead, 2020, 2021 instead of 21, 22.
Okay.
In there. And so if you could go through those.
I got the ones changed for you for the class of 19 and 20. I missed that one.
We'll get those two other modifications. I appreciate it.
No problem. Got it done.
Any other comments, concerns? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the high school course handbook with the adjustments noted.
Okay, is there a second?
Nystrom, second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Pritchard, seconded by Dr. Nystrom to approve the handbook as presented and modified. Any further discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, next on the agenda is the second reading of the 500 series policies.
If you recall, when we went through the 500 series, just the board policies that were related to chapter 103. So the changes that were made were to reflect the changes in the law with regard to chapter 103. There were no changes from the first reading, and I would recommend approval of the second reading.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Tripa. Are there any comments? Discussion? Otherwise, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve the Series 500.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mrs. Stevens, seconded by Mr. Elfman to approve the 500 series board policy second reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Next is the 300 series policies.
So the 300 series reflects mostly administrative positions, as well as some of the job descriptions that were not previously approved by the board. You'll notice that any changes are simply maybe some changes to titles that no longer exist for some of the positions. For example, Dr. James's position was listed differently than how we represent it currently as Director of Innovative Learning. So that is changed, as well as also including a component with regard to both paid and unpaid other duties that administrators may want to participate in. There may be a situation where an administrator is teaching a class or simply serving as a speaker for a class, and there's a process that the district has used that just needed to be included into the board policies. So you'll see that that is also added into what was happening in practice was put into the policy. And so this is the first reading. And that would be my summary of the 300 series changes that occurred.
Okay. Questions for Superintendent Stripa? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the modifications of the 300 series policies as presented?
Move to present the Series 300 board policies as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Stevens, seconded by Dr. Nystrom to approve the review of the 300 policies with corrections with modifications as presented. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We are now down to the superintendent's report.
So I have a few items that I'd like to share with both the board as well as the public that might be listening. And on Friday, the governor did review some new measures for her recommendations for the state. But I did send out today and will reiterate that our COVID-19 mitigation strategies will remain in place. That is something that will not change with the change that the governor shared on Friday. We will continue to be requiring masks, social distancing, washing hands. It's been very successful for us to this point. And so at this time, we will continue with those practices. And we also have Raccoon River Valley Conference practices that we need to follow for activities. So what we've been currently following will continue to be followed as we have been previously. And so we just ask that our public be honor those areas where we go and the mitigation strategies that we have in place there, as well as those that we have implemented here at home. And then exciting news is that our district staff have been vaccinated. So that was a huge effort on the part of staff as well as public health. And we want to publicly thank our public health department for making that a very smooth transition, considering all the moving parts that occur with that. I wanted to also update the board with regard to our kindergarten and preschool numbers. That's something that we didn't have previously. And a few days ago, our kindergarten numbers are looking to be about 120 right now, 60 registered preschoolers, and about 23 of the transitional kindergartners.
Okay.
So we'll continue to monitor that and continue to update the board on our numbers with regard to transitional kindergarten, preschool, and kindergarten, so that we can make sure that we are aware of the staffing that's necessary, as we do anticipate having more kindergartners next year than we did this year due to COVID. And then lastly, there was an item that we did not put on the agenda simply because there are some loose ends that we want to get tied up with regard to the topic. But I do want to give Mr. Collins an opportunity to speak to something that I'm hoping we can put on an agenda, change our work session to a regular board meeting so that the board can hear a presentation about middle school baseball. But I want to give you at least a little bit of a 1,000-foot view, essentially, of what the topic is, so that prior to the board meeting in a couple of weeks, you'll have some background knowledge with regard to that. So I'm going to let Mr. Collins speak to the middle school baseball piece.
Thank you, Ms. Treppa. Proposal has been submitted for district and board consideration to implement a middle school baseball program. And that's with support of our head coach, Charlie Eastland, as well as our staff. We've had a longstanding positive relationship with the Boone Little League as well as the Babe Ruth League out at Memorial Park. And over a few years, the Babe Ruth League that has been implemented here in the Boone community has seen numbers drop a little bit. But that also provided an opportunity for kids that grow out of the Little League age, an opportunity to play here in the community of Boone. We have learned that Babe Ruth will no longer be offering a league and no longer be having that opportunity for our kids coming up this spring and summer. And so in looking at what we would be losing as a community and as a program, we looked at to try to be a little bit more creative in how we can provide opportunities for our kids, specifically at those grade levels at the junior high level that Babe Ruth offered. In looking at the dimensions of fields, Memorial Park is the only field in the Boone community that has the dimensions for that senior league level or that junior high level as far as the length of fences and the opportunity for those kids. The Little League does not have fields big enough for those kids. And so, you know, in looking at our conference and what they offer, 7 out of the 10 school districts offer a middle school baseball program. We've always been able to collaborate with Babe Ruth and the connection with Coach Eastland and myself, as well as our other coaches, in kind of having that feeder and younger program moving up to the 7th and 8th grade levels and working on some of those skills and things. And with that being absent, we're concerned. I know some families and are concerned about opportunities for our kids in the Boone community and not wanting to lose those kids elsewhere, having to go to a different community to play. And so that's some of the concern, and also, you know, trying to adopt that program and bring them in, and it being a school sponsored opportunity for those kids. So that's the basis of the proposal, and something for us as a district to look at and consider moving forward.
Well, like I said, I'm not, this obviously isn't an action item for the board, but I want to at least let you be aware of the topic. And I'm hoping that we can set a special board meeting that night of our work session so that we can actually have this be presented to the board. That once we have some of those other finalized pieces that we need to wrap up some pieces before we can put it forward to you. But wondering if we could at least tentatively plan on a special board meeting that night of the work session to discuss.
Yes, I was just aware of this briefly last Friday afternoon, the last minute. And there were too many unanswered questions to bring it up as an agenda item tonight. So, but gotten a little bit more information over the weekend, and I feel that Mr. Collins should be able to get these questions answered. And I would agree and would recommend that we have a regular session, brief regular session, the first item and only item being the junior high baseball program at our February 22nd work session. And then we'll just adjourn back into a non-voting work session after that, which seems like every one of these work sessions we've had to do that this last or this current school year, just because of everything COVID related. So this will not be an unusual thing to do. And so if the other board members do not care, we'll go ahead and proceed with that as a regular meeting. Okay. The one thing I wanted to ask Autumn in that report, the 120 already signed up. That seems like a lot for us. Seems like we're usually around the 100 to 110 range right now.
Actually, I just looked up our numbers from last year. Julie had asked, but I had to dig deep into the archives to find it. So let me share with you really quickly our numbers for last year. So last year at this point, we had 68 kindergartners, 14 TK students, and 57 preschoolers. Part of that number of 120, we have 26 currently enrolled preschoolers and TK students whose parents say they are returning. They just haven't gotten to fill out the paperwork yet. So that's why we're estimating that. That was as of February 3rd, I think that number was. And I think during that time, we've had about 14 of the 26 register. So it's going up. And usually it just takes the time for ones that are already here to know they have to re-register for school, even though they're not going anywhere. So we just stress the importance of letting us know who's returning so that we can staff and make the best programming available. 119 is not high. It's what we're typically at. This year we've gone down to 5 sections because we've had online kindergarten, which our instructional coaches have taught, which has been very difficult, but they've done an amazing job of doing. So we're hoping to get back up to that number that we're normally at for kindergarten.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. Anything else for the good of the order? Otherwise, we are going to go into closed session. We have 2 closed sessions, so I'd like to thank everyone for being here on this nice cold night. Let's see how many. Looks like we had a few people online here as well, plus those on television, live on YouTube. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And we're going to take about a 3-minute break to get everyone out, and then we'll resume at, let's just make it a straight 8 o'clock. Thank you very much.